Or
Showtime. Should we start with a roll call?
absolutely. Thank you very much. Fredson,
Here.
Sterner,
Here.
Vento,
Here.
Wolf,
Here.
Zarin,
Present.
and Lindstrom.
Hello, hello.
Thank you.
And I will start the agenda by reading start the meeting by reading the executive order statement, which is a notice that Governor Walz has declared a peacetime emergency. This is Emergency Executive Order 20-01 in response to COVID-19, and the Metropolitan Council Chair has determined it is not practical or prudent to conduct an in-person meetings for reasons stated in the Governor's Emergency Executive Order. Accordingly, council members will participate in this meeting via telephone or other electronic means, and the meeting will be conducted under Minnesota Statutes Section 13D.021 at the date and time stated above, that is, right now. We encourage you to monitor the meeting remotely. If you have comments, we encourage members of the public to email us at public.info@net.state.mn.us. We will respond to your comments in a timely manner. And with that, that takes us to the approval of the agenda. Any changes? It'll be so approved if looks okay to everybody else, which it looks like it does. And that takes us to the minutes from March 23rd, 2021. Is there a motion to approve those minutes? And a second.
Sterner, so moved.
And a second.
Vento seconds.
Wolf seconds.
All right, thank you. All three of you. Okay. And that takes us to the consent agenda where we have one item. City of
Chair?
Savage. Yeah.
Chair, we need to do roll call for the minutes.
Oh, thank you. Oh, sorry, forgot about that. Roll call.
Yep. Fredson,
Aye.
Sterner,
Aye.
Vento,
Aye.
Wolf,
Aye.
Zarin,
Aye.
saw the thumbs up. Lindstrom,
Aye.
Aye.
thank you.
Thank you. And now we're on to the consent agenda where we have the City of Savage, their 2040 comp plan and comprehensive sewer plan. And is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
This is Sterner. I would motion to approve the consent agenda.
Wolf seconds.
Thank you. Roll call.
Fredson,
Aye.
Sterner,
Aye.
Vento,
Aye.
Wolf,
Aye.
Zarin,
Aye.
thumbs up,
Aye.
and Lindstrom.
Aye.
Thank you.
That takes us on to our non-consent business agenda, where the first item up is Metro Lime kiln dust. We got a contract to look at. Mr. Ward.
Yes. Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, committee members. I'm Joe Ward, and I'm in process engineering, and I'm here today to talk to you about a renewal of our lime kiln dust contract at Metro. Next slide, please. So first off, just an introduction to what lime kiln dust is and what we use it for. It's a byproduct of manufacturing quicklime, and when it's heated, the limestone is heated, it produces gas and dust, and the dust is what we call lime kiln dust. And for the limestone manufacturers, it has very little use and is mostly disposed of into landfills. Next slide, please. So what we use it for at Metro is when the incinerators are down, there's still continual biosolids sludge being produced. So some of that does have to go through the load out system and be disposed of at a landfill. So, and I shouldn't say it, it depends on the situation if sludge storage is full or not, a lot of details anyway. But the point is, when it goes to landfill for disposal, according to Minnesota law, it must be a Class B biosolids. And the way that we make our biosolids a Class B treated biosolid is to raise the pH of it for 2 hours. And that's what our lime kiln dust does. Next slide, please. So here's a couple photos of how the system actually works. What you can see is a giant hopper there. It says cake sludge processor, and then 2 pipes fall into the top of that hopper, and you can actually see some of the biosolids falling into the top of that hopper. Next slide, please. And then those biosolids are mixed with ash and lime in this auger here. Next slide, please. And then it actually makes sort of a dirt-like consistency as opposed to a spongy biosolid material. Next slide, please. And I didn't have a great picture of this, but this is what happens to it. You can sort of see a pile there, but eventually the biosolids fall out into the back of a truck and where it's hauled to landfill. Next slide, please. So as I mentioned before, this contract is a renewal of the current contract, which is expiring. And we completed an invitation for bids on January 4th. We had a pre-bid meeting on January 19th where we had 2 plan holders and they both attended the pre-bid meeting. We had a public bid opening on February 4th and we had 1 responsive bid from Omni Materials. And since we had 1 bid, procurement completed an adequate competition determination. Next slide, please. So this contract is for 4 years and an amount not to exceed $1,476,000. The first 2 years of the contract would be at $86 a ton, and the second 2 years, $88 a ton. And the Office of Equal Opportunity did not set an MCUB goal for this contract due to the specialized nature of the product that we're purchasing. Next slide, please. And the proposed action is that the Metropolitan Council authorizes the regional administrator to award and execute a contract to Omni Materials, Inc. for lime kiln dust delivered to the Metropolitan Wastewater Treatment Plant. This contract will be for a period of 4 years with a total procurement not to exceed $1,476,000. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? I can't see you all on my screen, so I see Councilmember Vento's got her hand up.
Yeah, and this is a very, very random question, Joe. I probably should have warned you that I was going to ask this, but is this a product that poses any environmental or human risks in terms of exposure? I mean, are there side effects or hazards related to it?
Mr. Chair and committee members, yes, I guess I would say that this is not, it's a dust that can damage lungs if you are in close proximity to it, and there's a lot of it. And so we take great care in handling this. And I guess I would say in general, from knowing the process, I failed to mention it, but one of my pictures on the slides was the truck blows the lime kiln dust into the silo itself, and then it is mixed with the biosolids when it's coming out into the back of the truck. So when everything is running correctly, no one is in contact with the lime kiln dust itself.
Okay. And there's training that goes on for, excuse me, Mr. Chair, if I could.
Yep, please.
There's training and procedures to help the folks working there protect themselves and maintain safe practices.
Mr. Chair and committee members, yes, that's correct. There is training to make sure that we are anyone in contact with it is careful and is obviously wearing respirators and whatever personal protective equipment is necessary.
Good. I appreciate that. And I think going forward, this is probably fair warning to anybody listening. Going forward with similar kinds of situations, I'll probably ask similar kinds of questions. I just think it's good for us to be keeping that front and center in our discussions. And I also hope that the manufacturers, the companies that provide these materials, are always looking and researching safer options, both for the environment and for humans. And so with that, I appreciate your response. Thank you.
Excellent question. Others? Councilmember Sterner.
I just had a few random questions myself here. So the first one is this product, is it with the right place? Could it be considered to be an option for value? Like, could it be like a potash where it's mixed in with soil to improve soil health, or put in with roadways to working with concrete or future road constructions, or any other possible applications other than landfill that you're aware of?
Mr. Chair and committee members, just let me rephrase it. So you're referring to the mixture we have of the ash lime biosolids
Yes.
that we're disposing
Yep.
of.
Correct. Yep. Or the ash itself before it's mixed, if that was a potential.
Okay. Yes, Mr. Chair and committee members, we have our process engineering group has been doing some research on disposal of ash. In fact, we do have a project going. I'm a little unclear of where it's at the moment, where we are looking at using ash as fertilizer. It has a very high phosphorus value in with the University of Minnesota down in Umore. I don't know exactly where that's at, but I'd be happy to follow up on that.
Rosemount.
Oh, yes, thank you. Yes, I'm sorry. And I mean, as far as where the project's at. And then also, as far as the material itself goes, boy, we can land apply it like we do at Empire. I don't want to put my foot in my mouth too much. There's a whole lot of analysis that goes into what we can and can't do with it. But there are other methods of disposal. However, this one is for the volume that we have. This appears to be the most effective and what was engineered for the SMB.
Okay, and Mr. Chair, just a couple more questions. And okay, so my next one is: does it go into a particular landfill, or do we have a few different landfills that the contractors taking it to?
Mr. Chair and committee members, it does currently go to SKB in Rosemount. Yes.
Rosemount. Alrighty. And then my final question is: how does this contract, the 4-year contract, compare to what we're currently paying for our current operation?
Mr. Chair and committee members, we are currently paying, I believe it's $84 a ton. So my experience with Omni is they typically ask for about a $2 increase in prices every 2 years for inflation, essentially. But the pricing seems to be pretty consistent.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Ward, Mr. Chair. I'm complete.
Councilmember Wolf, did those pictures satisfy your desire to have gross pictures?
They did, Mr. Chair.
He was talking about dirt-like biosolids. I figured that was thumbs up. All right, thank you. Do we need a motion to approve?
Wolf
we do.
moves approval.
And a second. Did I hear a second, or is there a second out there?
Vento seconds.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Fredson? Sterner?
Aye.
Vento?
Aye.
Wolf?
Aye.
Zarin? Councilmember Zarin?
Aye.
I'm acknowledging he said aye.
Aye.
And Lindstrom?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And that takes us to our second item, which is Minneapolis project, Minneapolis East Interceptor Control Gate Structure Rehabilitation Contract. It's Mr. Schwartz.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My name is Jeff Schwartz. I'm the Minneapolis Area Program Manager for the MCS Interceptor Engineering Department. I'm here to present business item 2021-90SW, which is a request to award and execute a contract to construct the Minneapolis East Interceptor Control Gate Rehabilitation Project. Next slide, please. The Minneapolis East Interceptor, or MEI system, consists of two parallel facilities. The original East Side Interceptor 1MN 300, built in the 1930s, and the new MEI tunnel 8255 and 8754, built in the late 1980s and early 1990s. These interceptors are connected at the control gate structures shown in green on this slide. Site 26 is on the upstream side of the system at 22nd Ave and Marshall at Marshall Street. Site 20 is at 3rd Ave and 5th Street. Site 18 is at 2nd Ave and Main Street. And Site 15 is at 2nd and 10th Ave. Site 11 is at Oak and Essex on the University of Minnesota. The new MEI tunnel is capable of storing wastewater under surcharge pressure with regulating gates at its outlet to the joint interceptor 1MS 100 at Site 1 located at Pelham and Otis. Next slide, please. A recent inspection of the MEI control gate structures identified major corrosion of sluice gates, grading, concrete, and electrical systems, as you can see in the photos. Other corroded elements included ladders, stop log channels, crane rails, hatches, and hydraulic power units. All existing sluice gates were found to be inoperable. There's also significant corrosion in the Site 1 surcharge and connection chambers. These structures need rehabilitation to allow the MEI system to control flows and surcharges and maximize system capacity as it was originally designed. Next slide, please. Typical control gate repairs will include removal and replacement of existing sluice gates and hydraulic power unit systems with stop logs, removal of electrical systems, removal and replacement of ladders, platforms, gratings, and handrails, and cleaning and repair of concrete surfaces as needed. Site 1 rehabilitation will include removing and replacing the existing metering and sluice gate systems and replacing the roof of a fan building. Next slide, please. 4 bids ranging from $13,424,500 to $15,595,000 were received. PCI was the lowest responsible bidder at $13,999,225. Next slide, please. The proposed action is that the Metropolitan Council authorizes its regional administrator to award and execute a contract for MEI Control Gate Rehabilitation Project 807-643, Contract 20P291 to PCI Roads for its low responsible bid of $13,999,225. Next slide, please. And thank you, Mr. Chair, and would take any questions anybody has.
Thank you. Any questions? Councilmember Sterner.
One more time here. There we got it. All right. Yeah. Thank you, Chair. It took me a while to get unmuted here. Just my only question is, it looks like we had the responsibility. We had 4 bids, which I thought was pretty impressive. I like to see us more than 1 or 2. But I also saw that the lowest bid was not taken. So could you maybe just address why it wasn't considered the responsible bid on the one that was $500,000 less?
And
The low bidder.
I see Jody Jacoby is also on the line and has offered to answer questions about bidding as well. But yeah, go ahead, Mr. Schwartz.
Did you want to take it, Jody?
Sure, Jeff. Mr. Chair, committee members, my name is Jody Jacoby, and I'm the director of the procurement department. And as you're aware from Jeff's very articulate presentation, there was a goal on this project, and the low bidder did not pass the DBE goal. And so they were offered a reconsideration hearing, and that decision was upheld. So we moved on to the next low, which was PCI roads. So we did have 4 bids, but the low bidder did not have the commitment or the good faith effort to continue in the process.
Okay, thank you.
That's great. I have not heard of a bidding process like this where the low bidder did not meet those DBE goals, and I'm glad that we stick with those goals and move on to number 2. Other questions? Seeing none.
Chair,
Yes, please.
I don't know if you can't see me, I don't think, in my video, my audio has been a little choppy, but my question is maybe it was in the presentation, but how old is this equipment? And is there anything that can be done to reduce the corrosion to expand the life of going forward on this?
Mr. Chair, committee members, the original equipment was installed in the 1930s, and the other equipment was installed when we put the MEI in the 1980s. So we've gotten 40 years out of service life out of a lot of this equipment. But the way we're removing the corrosion issue is by replacing the mechanical equipment that has a tendency to rot in those conditions or deteriorate with manual equipment made out of fiberglass and stainless steel and that type of thing, where we're taking the electric out and the mechanical and all of those things that tend to take a lot of maintenance for those conditions, and replacing them with other materials of fiberglass, aluminum, and actually just removing all of the other moving parts.
Thank you
Councilmember
for
Zirin,
that
any?
answer. I appreciate it.
Great, thank you. Other questions?
Chair, looking for a motion?
Let's do it.
Yep. I would move the staff recommendation.
Is there a second?
Wolf seconds.
0 seconds.
Roll call, please.
Fredson,
Aye.
Sterner,
Aye.
Vento. Councilmember
Zero.
Vento.
Yes.
Aye.
Thank you. Wolf,
Aye.
Zarin,
Yes.
Lindstrom.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. And onward to acquiring some real property along 3rd Street and Commercial Street. Is this Mr. Gordon?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair,
Greetings.
committee members.
Welcome.
Thank you. Tonight we'd like to present business item 2021-91, authorization to acquire real property along 3rd Street, Commercial Street in St. Paul. And my name's Adam Gordon, manager of the Interceptor Engineering Group, and with me I have my sidekick, Greg Ewig, director of the Council Real Estate Department. And Greg's going to join me on some of the slides tonight. So if we can go to the next slide. We wanted to discuss the location. It's a very interesting location. Our 3rd and commercial facilities in relationship to some of the items in that vicinity. What you see in this map is a big predominant orange line that follows from the left to the right side of the map here. That is our 1MS100, or commonly known as the joint interceptor pipe, which runs all the way from Minneapolis through St. Paul, basically paralleling the I-94 corridor and to the metro plant. It's a 13-foot diameter tunnel constructed in the mid-30s, 1930s. And it includes, right in the center map, where the blue dot is, both an emergency release structure and a liquid waste receiving site. So during floods, when we can't take liquid waste receiving at the Metropolitan Wastewater Treatment Plant, they actually come via Commercial Street to this location. And we'll get as many as 150 trucks or so a day coming to the site during flooding conditions when we shut down Childs Road. The emergency relief structure and the corresponding outfall pipe, which goes south of that blue dot towards the Mississippi River, is our giant safety valve that protects the metropolitan or the Metro Wastewater Treatment Plant. So in the event that the Metropolitan Wastewater Treatment Plant couldn't take any more flow because of flooding conditions, we would have serious consequences if we couldn't divert flow. In this case, it's diverted to the Mississippi River. This is not something we do, has been done in recent long while. I believe these gates used to be exercised in the past during flooding conditions, but I can't remember any time during my 20 years at council that those gates have been acted on. It's important to note that the joint interceptor carries about half the flow that goes to the metro plant, or I should say actually half the metropolitan regional flow, a little bit more than half the flow that goes into the metropolitan wastewater treatment plant. We inspect the joint interceptor about once every 10 years. We have a couple areas that we're watching where we have defects and corrosion, and we know that at some point we are going to have to construct a rehabilitation project to address those needs, to address those defects. We're not anticipating that for a while yet. So our best guess is that we started planning, but those activities are probably at least 10 years out. In addition to things in that area that are of great importance, of course, is the Bruce Vento Nature Sanctuary and corresponding trails, and in gold, shown just a little bit to the left of our liquid waste receiving site, is the Waukon TP Center site that's being planned. I attend the design meetings for the Waukon TP Center, and they're planning, our best schedule is right now is that they're planning on advertising this probably by midsummer or so, and they'll be under construction during 2022, starting with the beginning of 2022. And with that, we'll go to the next slide. So one of the things we wanted to do is to prepare for that rehabilitation project, which will happen a bit down the line, by making sure we secured our land rights that we need to construct a rehabilitation project. It's important to note that this area, the tunnel is actually relatively shallow. It's only about 20 feet to the top of the tunnel, below the surface of the Commercial Street. When you do get to the west of here, you enter into a bluff area under St. Paul, the city proper, and along the I-94 corridor, we're actually as much as 200 feet deep over many parts of the tunnel. So access into the tunnel is ideal from this location. we sat down and conceptualized what we would need to begin a rehabilitation project. And in order to better assess just what kind of land needs we needed within the Commercial Street and 4th Street area. And with that, the next slide, I'm going to turn over the presentation to Greg Ewig to talk about our land acquisition efforts.
Thanks, Adam. Mr. Chair, committee members. So if you recall from just the previous slide, the numbers correspond here, but the rough outline that we're talking about for real estate needs include primarily easement acquisitions from the city of St. Paul. There's also a few private property acquisitions here denoted in the kind of I'll say the aqua kind of blue, the 7 and 8 parcels. But really represents the needs to be able to accommodate the rehabilitation of the pipe and also some construction staging areas. So if we could go to the next slide, Jason. So at this point, to date, we have, as Adam described, we've identified the parcels and the necessary rights, roughly 11 total. And there were a few city agreements related to the area that gave us, the council, some rights as to obtaining easements. So we have had an open channel with the city of St. Paul in those discussions. So looking ahead, really we're looking towards, subject to the approval here, having a more directed conversation with the city and the private owners. We expect that we will then undertake the kind of the normal due diligence, which includes environmental investigations, and ideally an acquisition target by the end of this year, if all goes according to plan. So we could have the next slide. Adam, I think passing it back to you for the action.
I can take this one. So tonight, our proposed action is that the Metropolitan Council authorize the acquisition of all easements and fee interest necessary for the ongoing maintenance of the 1MS 100 interceptor sewer, liquid waste receiving operations, and future construction to rehabilitate the interceptor and associated facilities in the vicinity of 3rd and Commercial Street in the city of St. Paul and adjacent to the Bruce Vento Nature Trail and Nature Sanctuary. And with that, the next slide, be happy to take any questions.
Questions from the committee? Councilmember Vento.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm going to abstain from voting on this, though I don't have any financial conflicts with regard to it. I just feel it's best if I not vote in order to avoid any questions in the future. But I do want to say that the council staff and several council members have been really engaged in conversations with the city. Adam mentioned some of them with the city and with the Lower Phelan Creek project, which is leading the effort. They both led the effort on the development of the nature sanctuary. They're also leading the effort in the development and the fundraising for the Wakantipi Center at the nature sanctuary. Council Chair Zelli, council members Chai Lee, Robert Lilligren, and I have been a part of those conversations, along with a number of the council staff. And the staff has worked really hard on doing their best to be good neighbors in every way as it relates to this project. Adam noted the history of the site. It goes back to the 1930s. And the significance of it in terms of the amount of service it provides the metro plant. So it's not an easy resolution to this, but there's been a lot of work, and I've just been really grateful to everybody on the Met Council team that have been a part of that. And so with that, I just wanted to explain that I also won't be voting, but I feel good about the engagement that's gone on thus far. And I hope we can continue to do that. Thank you.
Me too. I just wanted to say, Adam, thank you for being a part of the design process. as Councilmember Vento said, it has been anything but easy. And significant challenges, and I'm sure there may be significant challenges yet ahead, but the fact that we're all at the same table and having a conversation is really good.
Yep.
Other questions or comments? Is there a motion?
Wolf moves approval.
Thank you. Second?
Pretzel, second.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Cretsen,
Aye.
Sterner,
Aye.
Vento,
Abstain?
Dane, thank you. Wolf,
Aye.
Zarin,
Zaren's an aye.
Lindstrom.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. And if I forget, Susan, could we have this as a non-consent agenda item at the future council meeting?
Yes, sir.
That would be great. Thank you. And that takes us to our last item, which is to adopt a facility plan for the Blue Lake wastewater treatment plant improvements. Mr. Peterson and Ms. Heflin.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair and members of the Environment Committee. My name is Jason Peterson. I'm a principal engineer in the plant engineering and project manager at Blue Lake Wastewater Treatment Plant. I'm here to present the business item 2021-92, Adopt Facility Plan for the Blue Lake Wastewater Treatment Plant Improvements, MCS project number 809700. Renee Heflin is here as well and available for questions. Next slide, please. The Blue Lake Wastewater Treatment Plant treats wastewater from 29 communities and 300,000 residents in the Southwest metro area. The plant location shown here is in Shakopee, just south of the Minnesota River and west of 169 on Highway 101. The plant effluent is conveyed to the Minnesota River via a 1-mile pipe that heads west from the plant and turns north between Blue Lake and Valley Fair. Next slide, please. The Blue Lake Facility Plan was developed in response to 3 main drivers. The first driver is the need to meet future environmental regulations. The MPCA established a river eutrophication standard for the stretch of the Minnesota River in the vicinity of the Blue Lake Wastewater Treatment Plant discharge. This standard will require that the plant achieve a 0.3 milligrams per liter effluent phosphorus limit. Blue Lake, as well as all of the other MCS wastewater treatment plants, are currently designed to achieve 1.0 milligrams per liter effluent phosphorus. The Blue Lake biological removal process is insufficient to meet 0.3 milligrams per liter effluent phosphorus. The second driver is projected growth in the service area. The Blue Lake Wastewater Treatment Plant will reach its existing average daily wastewater flow capacity of 35 MGD between 2030 and 2040. And the third driver is aging equipment and infrastructure. Condition assessments indicated some facilities are nearing end of service life, primarily the final stabilization facilities, which we call FSF. Next slide, please. The major scope elements of the plan include aeration tank improvements, addition of a 4th digester, renewal of the final stabilization facility, addition of 2 secondary clarifiers, a new primary treatment complex, addition of tertiary filtration, addition of 1 aeration tank, a new blower, a tertiary treatment 0 head loss channel, expansion of effluent pumping, and renewal complex and thickening and dewatering. Have been divided into 3 construction phases. The first phase is comprised of the scope items that need to be completed within the next 10 years to maintain our customer lives. Estimated at
Jason, this is
150.
Susan.
Yes?
Sorry to interrupt you. If you could turn your video off, you're breaking up with your audio.
Sure.
Thank you.
All right. The first phase is estimated at $159 million and deals primarily with expansion and asset preservation. The second phase is slated for construction between 2030 and 2035. This phase primarily includes the work needed to meet the new effluent phosphorus limits and new primary clarifiers. This phase is estimated at $140 million. And the third phase includes all the items that can be deferred 15 plus years. This phase is valued at $114 million and includes capacity expansion and asset preservation work. Next slide, please. The proposed schedule is to have 3 different cycles of design, construction, commissioning for each of the phases, with the first beginning in 2022. We anticipate the construction projects will each be about 2 years, but the 5-year window is provided for the work to be completed at the time when it is necessary. Also, the second phase has an extended process proving phase because the tertiary treatment will be a new process to MCES. Next slide, please. To summarize the project, over the next 25 years, the Blue Lake Wastewater Treatment Plant will undergo large-scale projects in order to meet future environmental regulations of a 0.3 milligrams per liter effluent phosphorus, increase capacity to accommodate projected growth in the service area, and renew multiple assets as they reach end of life. Also, the project includes sustainability elements that will increase biogas recovery, which will reduce purchased electric power and increase phosphorus recovery. Next slide, please. The draft facility plan has been shared with the public as shown on this schedule. The notice was printed in the paper on February 7th, 2021. Hard copies of the plan were available at Shakopee City Hall and the Shakopee Public Library, as well as on the Metropolitan Council website. Postcard and email notices were sent with reminders about how to review the plan, submit comments, and to invite the community to the public hearing on March 15th. Thank you to those members of the committee that virtually attended the public hearing. The public comment period was open until March 25th. During the public review period, there were 2 individuals that each submitted 4 questions. These will be reviewed in the next 2 slides. Today is the Environment Committee meeting where the business item is being presented, with the plan to have it on the April 28th agenda for the Metropolitan Council meeting. Following approval by the Metropolitan Council, the facility plan will be submitted to the MPCA. Next slide, please. The first set of questions came from Steve Lillehog, the Public Works Director for the City of Shakopee. These were received before the public hearing and were read during the Q&A session of the public hearing. His questions included, will there be an increase in the size of the wastewater treatment plant? And to answer that, we said that no, the existing perimeter fence and levee were large enough to contain all planned improvements. His next question were what traffic impacts are expected? And we said that during construction, traffic will increase with construction personnel, but after the construction project is complete, there will be 2 to 4 additional trucks per day for deliveries and dumpster haul-off. His third question was what is being done about odor? And we said that there are 3 projects currently in the plant advancing odor control, as well as planning and piloting odor control measures in the interceptor system. And his fourth question was what is the capacity increase, and is there still a wastewater treatment plant planned farther west in Scott County? We said the liquids capacity will increase from 35 MGD to 44 MGD, and MCS is following the Water Resources Policy Plan and is continuing planning for the Southwest Scott County wastewater treatment plant. Steve expressed his appreciation for our quick and complete answers. The second set of questions, next slide, please. The second set of questions came from Linda Loomis of the Lower Minnesota Watershed District. And she asked if the outfall repair work can be moved to phase 1. And the MCS has been measuring erosion on the riverbank for 4 years now, and we have a trigger point of erosion for when the work will be done. So we stated that MCS has planned to do the repairs at the time they are necessary based upon the MCS annual erosion monitoring. So this may be in phase 1 if the erosion speeds up at all. The second question, will you be applying for a permit from the Lower Minnesota River Watershed District? And MCS doesn't intend to apply for a permit for the work at the outfall and the work at the liquid waste receiving station, which is outside of our flood levee, in accordance with the criteria in their documents. The third question, will MCS be applying for a new appropriations permit? and MCS does not anticipate needing to modify the existing groundwater appropriation permit for the Blue Lake wastewater treatment plant. And the fourth question is the groundwater used for plant processes? And we answered that the Blue Lake wastewater treatment plant reuses effluent water for non-potable water uses throughout the plant. The groundwater is withdrawn for protection of infrastructure and then discharged to the Minnesota River through the outfall pipe. So, through the facility planning process, we found no opposition to the plan. Next slide, please. The proposed action is that the Metropolitan Council adopt the facility plan for the Blue Lake Wastewater Treatment Plant improvements, MCS Project 809700, per resolution number 2021-15 attached to the business item. All right, next slide. And with that, I thank you for your time, Chair Lindstrom, and members of the committee. Renee and I can answer questions now, or you can email us later if you like.
Great presentation. Any questions for Mr. Peterson? Seeing none, I don't believe.
Chair, I do not have any hands raised at this time.
All right. Is there a motion?
Wolf moves approval.
I heard Wolf first, and I'll take Councilmember Vento for a second on that one.
Sounds good.
All righty. Roll call, please.
Fredson,
Aye.
Sterner,
Aye.
Vento,
Aye.
Wolf,
Aye.
Zarin.
Aye. Zarin's an aye.
Thank you. And Lindstrom.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. That takes us to General Manager's report. Lisa, what do you got for us this week?
A short report. I figured that it might be good to do a touch base on the COVID cases because they're spiking in Minnesota. And we're actually seeing that as well with our employees. So we have, for the first quarter of this year, 2021, we had a total of 6 cases, which we thought was really good. We had 4 in January, 0 in February, and 2 in March. Now for April so far, we've exceeded that. So we've had 9 positive cases in April. So I think this indication that this other variant is in Minnesota and there's spikes going on around the communities is actually showing up in our workplace. The good news is that we're getting vaccinations done in a non-scientific voluntarily reporting from employees. We think we've got about 35% of our frontline wastewater staff that have been vaccinated so far. We've offered 1 clinic through Dakota County on April 5th, and then we have another one this week. And so we're hoping that that number will grow quite a bit here with the second clinic coming up. We're hearing stories of employees trying to get appointments, and you probably have heard some of the difficulties and challenges of that, but we do have employees getting vaccinated, and we're feeling pretty good about the future. So.
You said 35% non-frontline?
35% of our frontline, the non-scientific reporting of it is what I was referring to. That we just asked employees to let us and respond to an inquiry and let us know yes or no whether they had. So we feel pretty confident that that's a good ballpark, but it's non-scientific.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm open to questions if you have any.
I think we're good.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. And that takes us to the end. Thank you, everybody. Have a great afternoon.
Great meeting.
Okay,
Thank
take
you.
care.
Bye-bye.
See you next time.